utilization of hotel occupancy tax to not exceed no more than 5,000 for the 23rd, 25th annual Frio Pioneer Day
Okay.
in March of 2022 with application being filled out.
Okay, so we'll get you that application. We've got our motion, we've got a second already, so at this point, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Doc, and we look forward to that, and please do come back for a report. And bring us some of that hot sauce.
Oh, my.
That's not a requirement. Okay, moving on. Item F. Discuss and consider orders number 2022-0202, ordering a general election for May the 7th, 2022, for the purpose of electing 4 city council members, places 1, 2, 3, 4, pursuant to the home rule charter. Order the appointment of an early voting ballot board, assignment of a presiding judge, alternate judge, and setting the rates of pay for the elected officials. May I have a motion for item AF?
Motion.
There's a motion by Councilwoman Rodriguez. May I have a second?
Second.
There's a second by Councilman Hernandez. At this point, I'll ask for questions. Pretty cut and dry, what we do here.
If there's none, Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and approve the ordinance number 2022-02-02.
Okay, we've got a motion, we've got a second. At this point, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye, motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, council, doing great. We've already done G, H, and I. Moving on to item J. Discuss and consider ordinance number 200201, amending the ordinance number 2017-0202, an ordinance related to towing and wrecker service regulations. May I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
There's a motion by Councilwoman Rodriguez. There's a second by Councilwoman Hernandez. At this time, I'll call for questions. We've got a complete packet in there. We've discussed this prior to. We're basically adjusting our fee schedule to the state agency that monitors towing. There's a lot of data in there about what we do. Fred, you have anything else to add?
No, really, Council, I think we discussed what I put in there was, I believe, it was a clean version of what the ordinance are reading, of what the changes were to the ordinance. I believe that's item, page 131. Anyway, the first, page 131 is a clean version of the ordinance. And again, you'll see that the majority of what we addressed was the fee structure. Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the towing companies are good with the fees as far as what was being proposed. And I think everything else, they're okay with that. That's my understanding of
Yes, good evening, City Council. We did address this ordinance to all the tow truck companies, both respectively by themselves, the owners, and together as a group, along with some commissioners, the mayor and Mr. Hernandez. I think he was part of it as well. We addressed their concerns about being in the same level as the state with the fees, and that's what the city managers brought to you. Everybody's with the consensus that they're okay with it. Any questions?
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes, Councilwoman Rodriguez.
On the city ordinance, because it is a lot in here, I didn't see, on the ordinance, does the ordinance not read, about how or who we call for a call? Like the schedule on who's next in tow?
Yeah, yes, it does. It's gonna be a rotation that, once the applications are submitted to y'all, which is, first we're gonna do the ordinance, then I'm gonna open up for applications, as the ordinance is gonna change. Once I get that and I make sure it fits all the criteria in front of you as per the ordinance, I'm gonna submit a list to you all. Once you approve it, that's gonna be the rotation list. As for the ordinance, I'm gonna submit it to the sheriff's office. We already spoke to this. We're gonna have our own rotation list, and we're gonna maintain it as well.
Okay. I had another question.
Yes, ma'am.
I read on here, have we already designated the area of the location of tow? I had a note here. When the vehicles do get towed,
Oh, yes.
okay, is there an area that is already designated in here? I know the old one didn't specify.
Yes, that's gonna be, the police department has its own towing facility. That is a designated area where all the tow vehicles go, and we just follow the ordinance after that.
Okay. The ordinance also reads that once the vehicle has been towed, the individual that owns the vehicle must go pay the towing company first? Or do they go to the police station to get release of tow, and then they go pay the towing service?
Yes, they told the tow company first.
Mhm.
They bring a receipt and we go from there. You're
Okay.
absolutely right.
All right, my only concern was with the towing schedule, to make sure that everybody that does submit an application, that they do get an equal opportunity. And to make sure not just to give them one phone call, to give them 1 or 2 calls before going to the next tow.
Yes, we specifically spoke about the rotation list in depth, so we have an understanding.
Okay,
One item that I want to make clear on council that we did add, and we will verify with the tow companies, again, we say see this in its entirety, is on page 140, it's number 14. It's a lockout services for PD requests for children locked in vehicles. That was an addition. So what we're asking is they not charge for that, but this will not count towards their total rotation. So what we're saying is, if you do this for us, this service, we're asking that you do it for free, but we're not gonna take you out of the rotation, so it doesn't count towards them not getting a call for a paid service, if you will. But we did add that provision in, as number 14.
is that the only provision that was added to this, because it's very lengthy?
Yeah, it's, these other services, everything else was, council member was taken out of statute, out of the
TDO.
TDLR. And so all this stuff here that you see here is all included in that website. If you go down there, you'll see all this.
So there's just one provision that the city is
That's the one
asking them to
addition,
go
yes.
ahead and open a vehicle up
Yes,
for a child.
we hope that they'll work with us on that service. I think that's,
Again, city council, if it's an emergency, we're breaking the window, just so you know, but just in case, if we have the opportunity, we'll call the tow truck companies.
Mayor, if there's no other questions, I would like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the ordinance number,
And we do, Councilman, we do have
Okay,
a motion to
okay.
second. At this point, no other questions, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Folks, we've got, you guys have probably heard about the Safe Outdoor Dogs Act. I think, city manager just wants to discuss some components of that with you, so Fred, I'll turn it over to you.
Mayor and council, this Safe Outdoor Dog Act, it's not something that the city's come up with. This is something that the state legislature and the governor have signed off on. It is statute that the state has approved. And, you know, we're gonna do our best to try to adhere to this new act. But just to keep the council kind of informed on this, we're not gonna be out there, initially going and, you know, issuing citations, and we're gonna try to just let people, you know, make them aware. Just hopefully just keep them, give them an idea of what the new law is, and give, it's gonna be an educational piece for us initially. And, just wanted to let the council know that this is something that I believe, maybe even other elected officials may have spoken to this, but it is something that we're aware of, we know about it. But it is something, speaking to send an email, I believe, to the chief and to the judge, and any suggestions or ideas they may have. Again, we're just gonna try to deal with it from the code enforcement side as best we can, but we're not, just so the council knows, we're not, gonna just go out there and hound people. That's bad.
No
Bad
pun
pun.
intended.
Bad pun. But it is something that we wanna make sure that you guys know that we're aware of it, and we're just gonna try to educate people as best we can.
May I have a comment on this?
Go ahead.
I know there's a lot of information that's going on by other elected officials that are at the county level that are saying that this law is in place. We're all aware of the new law that came into effect. But what we also need to do is, we're gonna have to look into this more in depth, because it is a law. But in order for us to start acting on this law, is that we gotta have a plan in place. We gotta have how we're gonna issue out the tickets, how the tickets are gonna work, the warnings, and if we do have to confiscate the animal, is where are we gonna hold these animals at? We don't have that stuff right now available for us to go and pick up these animals. I think by us writing tickets all day for one particular animal, it's gonna be pretty much a waste of taxpayers' money, because we don't have a plan in place for this. I would just like to ask the council that we can bring this up again, so we can not only educate the people on this, also have a plan of action and how we're gonna implement this law. We have to figure out where, if these people don't comply, where are we gonna hold these animals? all I have.
Council, anybody else have any questions regarding this? And I'll just state that, you know, we have got a lot of fires we're putting out, and, I'll just say publicly, from my perspective, this would not be a top priority with all the other things that we've got to accomplish, but that being said, it's a state law, it's not up to me, but, we've got a lot of things we need to work on, and so anyway, that being said, council, anybody else care to share, is there anything?
What we have is ACO personnel. Are we just down to one or two?
No,
We are.
Mayor, sir, we have a new code enforcement, he's going through training right now. He started out with, code enforcement Lugo, as you all know. I don't know if you knew, he got COVID, so he was at home for a week, he just came back, Monday. So he started the training again with Lugo. And in regards to the law, it states in the statute that we take it, a step at a time, and we do give warnings. It gives you, the statute, that ability, and that's what we're doing now. We already started enforcing this by giving warnings and explaining to people, educating them.
Thank you, Councilman.
I mean, we do have a place to hold them, don't we?
Yes, if need be, we do have a place, and we just had an adoption program this weekend. I don't know if you heard about it. I was gonna put in my next month's report, but we do have a local, adoption program that's helping us out. I believe they adopted 4 dogs this weekend on Sunday, so they're willing to help us out at no cost to the city.
And how many animals can be held out?
You got me in that one, I would have to come back and let you know. I know we're doing some repairs in some of the cages, most of them are done. We have a second set of cages that I would like to, perhaps begin construction on it again. I know there's a lot of, problems with it. I'd like to start picking up cats. I know there's roosters and.
I was gonna say,
And some chickens that people want us to pick, but we don't have the facilities for that. But we'll make sure to try to budget it for next year.
I believe I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I believe our ordinances state that we can, you can generally keep so many animals at a home, so I guess in a sense, we gotta be careful how many animals we adopt to a certain family
That
as
is
well,
correct.
so we won't maximize.
The
you
count
know,
is 3.
The quantities itself.
Yes, sir, the count is 3 per household.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything else, Council? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council. Moving on to that, we have another discussion item, item L, discuss proposed revisions to the chapter 32 of the code and ordinance. I'm gonna turn this over to our city manager, Brad.
Yes, Mayor and Council, with this item, you'll see in your packet, this is a discussion item because there's a lot to this. We went to the council, I think we came to you guys about 6 months ago, revising our part of this ordinance, and this is just, chapter 32 deals with nuisances, so it deals with weeds, it deals with junk vehicles, and it deals with dilapidated structures. And so what we did, some months back is we changed the ordinance and we revised it on the dilapidated structure part of the ordinance. What we didn't do, what we hadn't done, is revise the junk vehicle ordinance, the junk vehicle part, and also the weedy lots. And so this is what this is. And so what was done is that I've worked on it, and I've asked Bobby to review it, and I'm asking the council also to look at this. This is a revised version, but it's gonna include, changes to weedy lots, and also to, and this is all, the reason this is being done is because it needs to be consistent with state statute. And so what we're trying to do is all of our processes need to, make sure we have our hearings, make sure that we're notifying people, make sure that we're doing, all the things we need to do per state statute to be able to do lot cleanings, junk vehicles. We're just trying to basically clean this up to where we're able to do some of the things that we need to do. We have on the dilapidated structures, and Chief can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're gonna have, hopefully in March or April, once we get the municipal court, I believe, we'll have structures that we'd like to go, and the city would like to go and clean, I think 3 or 4 structures that we haven't had responses on. Again, that's on dilapidated structures, which is, again, things that have burned or they're just dilapidated. But again, once we get this approved, with the weedy lots and with junk vehicles, we're gonna continue with weedy lots and with junk vehicles. Again, I know that there's been questions, or that there's been some questions, at least as far as I'm concerned, regarding processes and, notifications. But we do wanna give people do our due diligence and give people a chance to to address some of this stuff, but at the end of the day, we have to also, if nothing gets done, we really make sure, hey, we're gonna have to do this. Whether, you know, I don't want our folks to be landscape people, but if that's what we have to do, then, you know, at some point, we're gonna have to clean some of these lots up.
So, I think the previous council had kind of mentioned that this was kind of a priority, you have to work on cleaning up our town. I think that's a step in the right direction. I think each of you council members, or some of you, had some input. This is a great time for that, so it is not an action item, but it's to make you aware. Fred, is there anything specifically you wanna highlight in here?
If there's something in here, and I'd ask on this since you were, if there's something here that you don't understand, it doesn't make sense, because again, my eyes mess with me sometimes, that is not clear to you, and maybe not clear to the average citizen, please let me know. Again, I changed definitions, and all these definitions every year are verbatim from statute, most of them. And remember that with our statutes, with our code of ordinances, we can always be more restrictive with what we do, but we can't ever basically do something the state says we can't do. So if the state says, hey, we want your brush to be, the maximum is 7 feet, we can't say, no, we want it to be 8 feet. But we want it to be shorter, whatever, and I address some of that here. So again, some of these things we can be more restrictive on, but it's just a matter, again, of making sure that as a council, you feel comfortable with some of these changes. But for our sake, it's making sure we get our processes right and we're following the statute, and it's consistent with state statute. So,
There's a good 30 pages of exciting reading in here, and I'd ask you guys to go through that, and anything that you have questions about, call Fred,
call Bobby.
call Bobby. Bobby, you there? Yeah, you're.
I'm still here.
Yeah, you're.
I'll tell you he's off.
So, because we will be looking at this as an action item, and, you know, wanna make sure we get everybody's input.
Mayor,
Yes, sir, Councilman
I
Hernandez.
think real quick, I've lived in the community about 40 years or so. One of the things that I think it's time to do is to inform the public or citizenry about some of the things that need to take place. You know, how we're supposed to do, some of these policies and procedures that we have in place. You know, we clean them up and stuff, and then we pass them as policy or whatever, but, you know, educating the general public on a lot of these things is what I think we need to also emphasize. As we pass some of these things, we maybe need to put out short notes in the paper or in mail or whatever, flyers, water bill, whatever it may be, to let people know, yeah, we're picking up stranded cars now, or whatever it is. And it has to be major or anything, as long as the general public gets it, and then we're okay with that.
Very good, very good
Hi.
point.
I have a question, Mayor,
Yes.
for Federico. On the notices, on how we are notifying, because we had a lot of concerns when we started to put this ordinance in place. There were some of the notifications that I had to disagree with is, I thought nobody lived in that home because the trash can never was moved. Or the other one was, there was a dog and I couldn't get to the door. I see here there's a lot on page 162, I think that's the form of notice. It's pretty much all crossed out. And then I see, prior to that on 161, it says, service of notice. I just see one thing of just getting a hold of them either by mail, or if they don't, then we put it in the local paper. But I just really think that we need to focus on how we notify these people. And the way to notify them is, of course, certified mail, or putting a notice in the paper with their name on it if they don't live here, as well as on our city website. Because some of the people that did get ticketed and their vehicles were towed, I know for a fact that one of them was because I thought nobody lived there because the trash can was never moved. And I went by twice.
Right.
And that car got towed. Those people are just elderly and they don't drive.
Right.
And their kids removed the trash bin during the week when they're able to go visit. And the other one was, I didn't wanna get off because the dog was there and I didn't wanna get bit. We just gotta make sure that we're notifying these people properly and giving them an equal opportunity to clean up their area and have proof that we did notify them.
I think there's a couple of caveats there, and I would say that again, posting stuff, from certified mail, we're gonna do this certified mail, but, posting stuff on the paper and tracking that. What we do have here, you'll see